Hello traders and welcome back to another weekly watch list episode. Last week was a total roller coaster as we started week a little bit bullish with some sideways action, which then turned into a messy bloodbath after the Fed announced 75-point rate hike. It seems like Fed is doing everything that they can to stop the runaway inflation before the midterm elections in November. Market didn't like the recent rate hike along with the bad CPI data and switched on to full sell mode. Market sentiment is not looking dovish at all, so expect more pain in the market for the upcoming week. I don't see a possibility of a massive sell-off, but the market will gradually decline over the time to make new low with some intermediate sideways action here and there. Until the midterm election, the market will remain bearish. There is a lot to cover in this video, so let's get started with this week's watch list, starting with the Nasdaq almost retested its recent low at 11,235 and remained below all four of its moving averages, which is 10, 21, 40 and 200 period moving average. It's not looking good, and the probability of making new low is very high. For the short term, Nasdaq will probably get a dead cat bounce to followed by the retesting of the at least 10 or 21 period moving averages around 11,535 to 11,673. Just keep this in mind that with the overall market is bearish, any short-term bounce gets sold off aggressively, pushing the market down even to the lower level. Moving on to S&P 500. S&P 500 has a similar story and is ready for the short-term bounce where it will retest its 10, 10 and 21 period moving averages around 37.59 to 38.06. Now selling pressure and the bears are getting stronger and stronger, so keep your hopes low on a bounce back from its recent low. Moving on to dollar. The dollar made an incredible move and pushed even higher to 113 level, followed by a slight pullback. A strong dollar always brings bearishness to the overall market. With the pullback that dollar had on Friday, it's safe to assume that it might retest 111.78, causing a short-term bounce in the market. Moving on to VIX. VIX was forming a nice rising wedge and had a breakthrough above it on Wednesday with the announcement of the 75 basis point rate hike. Now VIX pulled back to retest this trend line around 28.96 and probably it will bounce back up from there, but we just have to see how it reacts at this point. Moving on to Apple broken down further, retesting its previous support resistance around the 148.60. It is also broken below 200 period moving average after pushing north above it around 28 July. So quite a fair bit of time has passed when it broke through it. It broke through it recently but pushed back above. Now it broken down again. With the current setup, Apple might make a move to retest its 200 period moving average, which is sitting around 152.33 in 153. So probable targets to the upside are 153, at which it will fill this gap between 151.43 to 152.09. Moving on to applied materials. All semiconductor stocks and the semiconductor sector itself is completely annihilated by the market, and no buying is in sight for the last several weeks. It is very painful to watch, but it is what it is. And in this case, the applied material, watch for the hold of 84. If it breaks below that, then there is nothing to stop it from falling down all the way back to 70s. You see here this sharp rise This rise was supported with less volume, and that happened very quickly. So if we lose this will be the next target, 70.48. AMD is also sitting at the critical level. Buyer should step in and push it to 73 or close above 70 and then hold that 70 level strongly. Otherwise, similar to applied material, free fall would bring it down to the 58.08 with the completion of the gap fill that is exist between 63.88 to 61.83. Moving on to Amazon. Amazon is the middle of the consolidation zone and also in the megaphone formation. There is a high probability that Amazon might consolidate between 108 to 1017 with the probable retest of the 200 period moving averages, which is sitting at 121. If it couldn't hold the 108 level, then the next stop should be around like 96. This is I'm talking about like like bearish scenario. So 108 will be the critical point to hold, and for the recent bounce it can retest this 117 followed by the 120 retest. Moving on to Chipotle. Chipotle is looking very bearish as it broke through the support level at 1597. Now watch for the retest of that 1597 followed by a pullback to retest the 200 period moving average around like 1458. Next one is Costco. Despite good earning overall, with the overall market bearishness, it pulled Costco down to 466 right after its earning. Watch for the hold of 461. Failed to do so, Costco will come down to 445.46. Chevron. The oil and energy sector has been beaten down by the government efforts to get their precious vote before these midterm elections. I think oil and gas will remain like this for a while before bouncing back after October and November, but before that they will go down a little bit more. Now Oxy is not going to stop until it hits 139, where it will find a little bit of support and probably bounce back again to retest some of its moving average at that point, but right now it's looking very bearish. Moving on to Google. Google has finally broke below $100 mark. Right now it is sitting at 98.79 in the middle of this gap fill, but it already filled this gap. So watch for the bounce back to retest this 10 period moving average around like 100 level. If we get some form of bullishness, then probably it will retest 21 period moving average at 103, but overall it's looking bearish on the downside. Watch for the 95.42, and if it couldn't hold there, then 90.06 will be the next target. NVDA is hanging by a thread to 125 level, and it's not looking good at all. Since it's at the support, that may give a bounce back to retest the 10-21 period moving averages, which are hanging very close to its current level around 130-133. Otherwise, watch for the 116 level for the ultimate support. If Nvidia lose that, then the next level will be 108. Roku. Since Cathy Wood stepped down from 2 of her ETF, it might affect this stock, and she is managing some of the portfolio where the Roku plays the major role, or has covered the substantial amount of that ETF. So watch for this trend line support. If it can bounce, it will catch up with this 10 period moving average around like 66, followed by probable retest of 21 period moving average around like 68. Otherwise, as we are retesting this COVID low, if we lose this support, then probably we will retest these levels around like 49.94 as support. Next one is Shopify. Shopify was in consolidation phase for a while, and finally it broke through that. I'm expecting it to push back again in this consolidation zone, which exists between 29.44 to 41.64, and probably it will retest this 10 period moving average at that point around like 31. Failed to do so, there is nothing in between, and it can come straight down to 17.41 level, which could be very extremely bearish scenario for the Shopify. And the last one is Snow. Nice double top formation right over here, followed by a follow up towards the downside, and it is also forming this falling wedge. Retested it on Friday, bounced back up again, and probably it will retest this upper edge of this falling wedge somewhere around 176 180. At that point it will also complete the retest of the 10 period moving average, which might give us a rejection towards the downside which will force to fill this gap between 164.45 166.74 and the ultimate retest of the 200 period moving average around like 150. So there you go guys, another video wrapped up. I go over all the stock as fast as possible without losing much time in between. As always, I will attach the link to this watch list down in the description section below. If you like the information presented in this video, then please like, share and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching and see you next week. Bye.